In fact, ever since the war started, the US has been imposing sanctions on Russia, left, right, and center. But as it turns out, Washington has been ignoring its own laws, and US-made technology has been flowing into Russian airlines. You heard that right. All this time when America was preaching ethics to the world, when it was talking about being tough on Russia and its allies, thousands of its own aircraft shipments were trickling down to Russia. And what does America have to say for itself? So far, the Biden administration has partnered with nearly 40 other governments to impose sanctions on Russia. And this includes the European Union, the UK, Canada, Norway, Switzerland, Iceland, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. Together, they have tried to cut access to weapons and technology. And why is that? To essentially strip Russia of everything that it needs to fuel its economy and the war. And these far-fetched sanctions also apply to Russian airlines, including Rosair Airlines, Aeroflot, Ural Airlines, S7 Airlines, Pobeda Airlines as well. But were these sanctions really followed is the immediate question, and the answer is not really. Have a look at this report by the New York Times. It says US-made aircraft parts worth $14.4 million were sent to Russia in 2022. And out of this, $8.9 million worth of parts were manufactured or trademarked by American plane maker Boeing. Dozens of shipments of copper wires, bolts, graphite, other parts slipped into Russian Aeroflot warehouses, and all of these were marked as made in the US by Boeing. You know, from simple screws to Honeywell branded $290,000 aircraft engine starter. Over 5,000 shipments of aircraft parts reached Russia over a period of 8 months. And how did that happen? Let me tell you, through shady third parties and a series of straw buyers. You know, ever since Russia has been slapped with those sanctions, illicit networks have sprung up, and these networks bypass the restrictions by shuffling goods. Essentially, they sell the parts to the buyers, often in China, the UAE, even Turkey and the Maldives. And the shipments traverse obscure trading companies, free trade zones, industrial parks, to finally land in Russia. And they are then used to patch up Russia's dilapidated airline fleet. And Boeing has denied any wrongdoing. It says it complied with the US sanctions as of early 2022. Then what explains the exports to Russia? The plane maker is not necessarily at fault here. You see, the aviation supply chains are quite complex. And Russia has been recruiting global businesses to help it bypass the sanctions. Amid this, the parts could have come from a variety of sources. But the truth really is, Western sanctions were violated, that too under its own nose. A handful of shipments were made directly from the US or Europe. And how exactly did they escape the scrutiny? You see, the US is tough when it comes to other countries. It's quite quick when it comes to lecturing and imposing penalties. But lately, it has been turning a blind eye on its own faults. Are sanctions simply a sham then, is the immediate question. US-made airlines parts are ending up in Ukraine, so are US-made semiconductors. In 2022, 3,292 transactions in Russian customs data related to computer chips. About 70% of them, 2,358, were labeled as products of US chip makers. And this included Intel, Advanced Micro Devices, Texas Instruments, among others. Russian oil and gas is still flowing into Europe, with India serving as a backdoor. If the trade is anyway going to continue, then what really is the point of the sanctions? Is it all just a hoax? WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.